Hi Brian, it's Dave from OptimalResume.com. It was good talking to you this morning. I wanted to give you this short summary video that you could share with others in the Kansas Career Center. I'm starting here again just kind of reviewing from the student perspective how easy it is to opt into ResumeGPS. Once the functionality is enabled, students basically pick a document. It can be either a resume they built with our builder or an uploaded resume. They would go to this button here and basically check the box to indicate that this is the resume they want to make searchable through ResumeGPS. As I mentioned too, once they do that, there are some other options that become available. They can hide their contact information, making it private. They also have some other additional fields they can use to enhance their profile, like tagging their resume that they're opting in. But most of this information is opted in right from their profile. Once the student basically is opted into ResumeGPS, they can receive communications from employers. Right here at the level of the document that they've opted in, they can see statistics on who's clicking on their resume. And then, as I showed you this morning, really the power of ResumeGPS is the built-in video interviewing options. This first one I'll show you is called, or review with you, is called online interviewing. This is the case where an employer basically creates their own standardized screening interview, and then they can, after creating one, it's very easy for them to select candidates for them to invite them to respond to these questions. And so that's kind of a nice efficiency compared to telephone screening, because employers can receive email notification when they have new interviews to look at here. And we call those online interviews. The other option is, as I showed you, a browser-based built-in video conferencing system, and there's full reporting on this on the admin side. We think there's a lot of intellectual property in this. It uses Flash, and it'll work in any browser. As you can see here, I don't have to install anything. I don't have to run any software. Basically, the student just hits join at the time that's scheduled between the student and the employer, and the video conference can happen. So it really facilitates a discussion to kind of helps the employer, I think, identify if someone might be a good fit for the organization, early on. And so right now you're not seeing me in this left window. I'm going to have to pause the recording of myself in this movie to show you, and I'll be right back in 1 second. So I apologize for that. I just needed to stop recording myself for the movie here, and you'll see in a second that how powerful this browser-based video conferencing is. What I'm going to show you is that, so if you think of this from the employer perspective, ResumeGPS is different because it really unites, resume searching, resume books, and video interviewing, and removes a lot of the logistical issues involved in kind of putting those two together. And here I am again, Brian, now that my camera is free from the movie, and you can see also that there's chat built in, there's no time limit, and this is a nice option, I think, for employers to have, along with other options you might make available to them. So again, from the student's perspective, I initiate this video conference or respond to online interview questions literally at the level of the document that I've opted in here. You can see as I close this little area that this is the resume that I've opted in. So a lot of power there built into the ResumeGPS functionality. From the employer perspective, again, our hub is quite unique. You can see that employers basically who log in here, we validate employers very closely, erring on the side of basically blocking any employer whose profile doesn't look legit. And then basically employers can come in and filter on the schools that they're interested in. As an example here, I'll go to a test school because I'm logged in as kind of a super administrator here. We'll take a look at Optimal University, and I think what you'll see from the employer's perspective is lots of nice, with any candidate that's in here, the employer can basically, schedule video conferences with them. A lot of the same functionality, obviously, that we saw on the student side. This is where the employer from our hub could initiate a video conference with anyone that they find. Again, this is encrypted, so it takes a moment to load. I just want to show you this, and then you'll notice these other functions up here. The online interviewing, this is where employers can create their static screening interview and ask a particular candidate to respond. There's direct messaging, notes, ratings, and also forwarding. And you'll see here after we're done encrypting this high intellectual property software that basically the employer is ready to go on this side. So it's a very nice built-in kind of video conferencing platform to screen candidates. And One other function that I want to go back to the search resumes page here on our hub before I start to wind down the video here is to let you know that in addition to being able to look at resumes as I reset my filters here, employers as they're in the search process can save candidates in folders, which is nice because that's eventually going to help them minimize their investment. So if I scroll down here on someone from Cal Riverside, I can come in here and basically save every candidate as I'm going in folders, new folders that I create. And once I created a folder, I can save the candidate in the folder. And all of the candidates that I'm interested in here live under my Candidates tab. And so this is an example of an employer who's already obviously purchased access. What does this cost for an employer? There's basically, as I mentioned to you, what's unique about the business model here is that employers who log in on our hub get to have basically unlimited free searching where they can look at documents. They can basically look at the actual resumes. They can't see candidate names or contact info, but they can look at the documents, assess the quality of the database. As I mentioned, save candidates in folders to kind of minimize or narrow down the population of people they're interested in. Then some really nice low-cost options for resume books, starting at $25 up to $150. And then on the candidate screening side, this is where employers basically say, hey, we're going to use this as a virtual screening platform. The entry dollar amount's $195. It goes up to $3,200 depending on the number of candidates that the employer might want to screen. And so we think we have some nice ranges here. But again, this combines resume searching, saving of candidates, and the ability to have video conferences, in this case with 50 candidates over an interval of 3 weeks for $195. And again, half of every payment that employers make, so half of this $195 goes into a pot and it's going to go back to career centers. A 50-50 revenue share, very aggressive, and I think unprecedented for vendors that work with colleges. So keep that in mind. The last ripple I wanted to talk to you about, as I showed you today, because we became aware that many schools didn't want to drive their employers to our corporate website, what we came up with was, and I'll show an example again of what's being done. Oops. Sorry about that. Showing an example of what's being done at the University of Miami is basically the idea of a university branded version of this program. So let's see here. So if I open up the screenshot again that Miami sent me, the idea is that if your employers are already coming into your Simplicity portal, why not make this university branded version of this program available here? So employers can basically search resumes and video interview candidates from your institution. So you're bringing together the resume book piece and a video interviewing piece. All the same functionality is available on these university branded sites, to include the ability to where employers can create and download their own PDF resume books, but also with any given candidate that they locate, the ability to basically engage them in the video interviewing process through those two functions that I mentioned. And so we can set this up. A nice thing about putting this behind your employer portal is that you all would be validating the employers, determining who gets access to this, and also there are options to make this free for employers if that's important as well. But we think it definitely is a nice option to give employers. And worst case scenario, if they come in, look at the resumes, decide they don't want to make a purchase, they just choose not to use the service. But again, all options really are on the table in terms of what does the employer have to pay on the university branded domain, and I can give you more information on that again to summarize the sliding scale we have for schools that do wish to pay for employers in advance to provide them with free access. That is an option. And so that's pretty much, I think, a summary of ResumeGPS. I hope this video is helpful. I'd love to talk to others in the Kansas Career Center about the program, and I look forward to speaking with you, Brian, or others in the office sometime soon. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.